today a little about this Now magazine in Toronto. I noticed a woman reading it on the subway, and I noticed it had a dedicated section to far right politics. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is obviously a politically hysterical magazine. It's available free all over the streets of Toronto, and I was like, okay, let's take a look and see what the story is, see what the big scoop is. Actually, this video is going to be a little bit of an investigation around the Danforth shooting and how it's kind of being used as leverage for some new legislation. And just to put that in perspective globally, because a lot of people have a very small picture of the world, especially people that live in Toronto, they seem to think that all Canada is contained in the city, which it definitely is not. It seems like the rest of the country does not really agree with Toronto. But yeah, so we're going to get right into this. This is Now magazine, Toronto magazine, and the headline is Families of Danforth Shooting Victims Call for Gun Ban. Well, obviously they do. Their fucking families died. Like, why would they not call for that? It's just, that seems like the rational thing to do if you're in that position. But it seems like a kind of, anyways, we're going to get into this a little bit. So it's almost been a year. The shooting happened Sunday, July 22nd. And 2 people died, 13 people were injured. All of this stuff is just kind of like, it's the emotional stories. I don't want to get into it because, it's tragic. Obviously, Reese Fallon and Juliana Cozy, they were the victims, and, thoughts and prayers go out to them and their families, anyone who knew them. It's always tragic when somebody just dies needlessly, but, I don't think that is necessarily a good case for banning all guns, especially to use this specific case. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get into this a little bit. So it seems as though the families are becoming activists for gun regulation. So they attended some meeting at Town Hall where Bill Blair, who I believe is the former chief of police in Toronto, he kind of heads, the discussion here. So he lists off a few things, and one of them here is, while many guns are sourced illegally, a growing number used in crimes are coming from legal sources. The handgun used in the Danforth shooting was reportedly stolen in a break-and-enter in Saskatoon. So pretty much what they're trying to imply there is just like, okay, so even though, these people are not using their own legal weapons, they're able to obtain the legal weapons of other people through illegal acts, so we should just ban them altogether so that nobody can get them. I find it really interesting here that they don't seem to mention anything about the Danforth shooter's brother, how he was involved as an arms dealer and a drug dealer, and how his brother actually ended up with a firearm from his own family members. So it wasn't as if he went out and stole it. He was able to obtain an illegal firearm and use it in an irresponsible way, obviously. So here's some more facts about guns in Canada. There are more than 2 million registered gun owners in Canada. Since 2004, the number of restricted firearms such as semi-automatic rifles and handguns in Canada has doubled to more than 900,000. Holy shit, so in 15 years, the number of restricted firearms in Canada has doubled to more than 900,000. That's actually pretty intense. Now I wonder why. You can start to think about reasons why. We'll get into that in a little bit. So it says right here, the AR semi-automatic assault rifle, which can become fully automatic and has been used in several mass shootings globally, continues to be widely sold in Canada. This is a restricted weapon, but one that gun advocates are lobbying to move to the unrestricted list. Okay, so while countries like Japan, the UK, and now New Zealand have tightened gun laws in response to it, I wonder what this link is. Now, they're obviously using global events with, the lone gunman narrative, just like classic Lee Harvey Oswald, to try to leverage gun control. And I don't know if that's, because these are not sane people. These are not responsible people. The people that own guns, and use them for hunting and even the people who believe that maybe the government might become tyrannical, like these people, they're not going out and doing this just yet. Like I feel like they're going to stay in their homes until somebody tries to take them away. Like I don't think that most gun owners are dangerous in any real way. But yeah, so I want to I want to address this right here. So it is time to stop asking why we should not let private citizens have guns and start asking why we should. Okay, so these people are just plain flat out. They're like, why even bother having guns? Like, it seems kind of ridiculous. Everybody already has them, so ostensibly we would need to take them away, and nobody would have any guns, and we would just live in this like peaceful utopia. It sounds like a great idea. I mean, if we could trust in our government, and it seems as though these people just have blind trust in our government. They don't think that anything could ever go wrong. Canada, we live up here, it's pretty sweet. We have free healthcare. We had a pretty cool little thing with our education, with households under 20, 25 grand being able to qualify for free OSAP, which is student loans, pretty much paid for. But our Minister of Province, Doug Ford, sorry, his brother, he revoked that for one reason or another. So, Canada's not exactly a perfect utopia, but it could be, and a lot of people seem to think that taking away the guns is a step in the right direction. So, what we're going to look into is why the amount of restricted firearms has doubled since 2004. And, this is all speculations. This is sort of my opinion, but I'm also trying to draw from news articles and, actual factual resources. So we're going to get into it a little bit. Also, this is a little bit about the Danforth shooter. We haven't really looked into him enough, but it's quite possible, because he was a Muslim. Like, it's quite possible that he was adhering to some of the tenets in the Quran. We can't really say one way or another, but we do know pretty much for a fact that his brother was a drug dealer and an arms dealer, and these guys were Muslim. So, I don't think that crime and religion necessarily mix, but it seems as though they go hand in hand a lot of the times, not just limited to Islam, but, a lot of people will do things in the name of their God, of their religion, so that they can achieve this amazing afterlife. Like, I don't know. I'm going to close that down. Let's see here. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Okay, so here, this could potentially be a reason why people are, starting to get guns. So crime rate in Toronto increases drastically in 2018. This is last year, but there had been 28 shootings already just 3 weeks into 2018, a 55% increase. And the number of shootings in the downtown Toronto area was up 167% by the 31st of May 2018. So we can already see there's a lot of crime on the rise, especially gun related. People are thinking, well, how do you defend yourself from a gun? Well, maybe you get another gun, because it doesn't really seem as though you can do anything else if somebody has one pointed at you. So okay, so that's a potential reason. Crime rate on the rise. Why is crime rate on the rise? Now, this may or may not have something to do with it, but I feel as though maybe Toronto's infrastructure is not ready to handle the amount of people that are coming in, regardless of faith. But the fact that people are coming from different walks of life, we're all being exposed to each other, and we have contradictory belief systems. Take, for example, like LGBTQ plus is huge in Toronto, and Islam's fundamental tenets are, directly in conflict with what homosexual people should be able to do with their lives. So these people are coming in, and they are assimilating because they're not able to change the laws, but their perspectives, it's on an individual basis, it varies wildly. You can have someone who's completely chill. A lot of people in their teens and 20s just don't really care about their religion. A lot of them, it's just they look at their parents and like, okay, yeah, mom and dad are gonna fucking trip out about Christianity or Islam, but like most people our age are on the level. But a lot of people are coming in with conflicting belief systems. So Canada was taking in about 300,000 immigrants per year, and Toronto Okay, so here we go. Here's some actual facts from CBC. Um, so we were taking in an additional 10,000 each year on top of the 300,000. So in 2018, we took in 310,000, up from 300,000 in 2017, and this number is projected to rise. But there's also this sort of like anomaly that it seems as though most of the people immigrating to Toronto are trying, or immigrating to Canada are actually moving to Toronto. So there's a disproportionate amount of people that are coming into Canada that are moving to the big cities, likely because it's a cultural hub. I think that people like to be around. It's almost like integration. They're able to be around people who speak the language of their homeland and practice the cultures, and they're also within arm's reach of Canada. So they're able to slowly assimilate rather than being just like a fish out of water, which I think is a good thing. I think that's what Toronto's for. It's a multicultural hub. But it seems as though 17% of all recent immigrants to Canada live in Toronto. If that trend continued, the city would be welcoming more than 50,000 immigrants in 2018 alone, and nearly 17,000 over the next 3 years. So we already have a housing crisis in Toronto. Crime is on the rise. This just doesn't seem like a good idea. And you wonder why people are getting armed. It's because people are starting to get riled up. They're packed in tight around people that don't speak the same language, don't have the same cultural practices, and not everybody is as young and adaptable as a lot of people watching this video who are just trying to get a rational perspective on everything. Because everybody knows that not every fucking Muslim fully believes in their dogma. I bet you most don't. Everyone who I've personally met is just kind of like, they drink. So I don't think they're going to go kill in the name of Allah, just like most Christian people I know aren't going to go stone gay people. It's kind of like, we say that we're religious, but like, what does that really mean? It's not really, like, it doesn't mean that people adhere to the dogma. I think that's like a really important thing to keep in mind, like not adhering to the dogma. And if you're going to claim religion, maybe it's important for you to read parts of your religion, like read your whole book. So just so you know what you're vouching for, because as soon as, like, I was raised Christian, as soon as I read that book, I was like, no thanks, not for me. And I respect anyone who practices it half-heartedly, because that's like the only way to actually like morally practice Christianity in 2019 is half-heartedly. If you adhere to everything as dogma, then you're gonna have a lot of problems in your hands. You're gonna be labeled a bigot, and you are one. I mean, like, have you read the fucking Christian Bible? There are a lot of terrible things in it. Like, I've got Leviticus pulled up here. This is just for example. So we live in Toronto, we live in Canada. Pretty much like homosexuality is completely tolerated culturally. Like, I know that there are a few guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s who are a little bit hardline about it, but most people our age are just kind of like, yeah, man, you do your thing. But Leviticus is from the Holy Bible. Leviticus 20:13, if a man has sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They are to be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. Okay, so brutal. Absolutely fucking brutal. There's no two ways around it. It's incredible that we can even call ourselves a Christian nation, or that the United States can call themselves a Christian nation. If you're not adhering to that, you shouldn't adhere to that. Why call yourself a Christian nation? Why not revise the Bible? Why not create a new religion? Why not just abandon it altogether? And I know people want a way to seek spirituality and they find solace in community, but if every fucking holy book has this in it, like, what the hell are you really practicing? So what we're going to talk about too is rationality in critique of religion, because it seems as though Canada, it's kind of it's frowned upon to critique Islam. There's a whole motion M103, and it's frowned upon to critique Islam, but I think it's really important. I think it's absolutely important. So there's this website called The Religion of Peace. They have a few points. I'm just going to go over them, and we'll read some stuff directly from the Quran, and we'll just see, maybe why people are frightened at so many people that say, oh, we practice this, whether or not they do it fully dogmatically or just half-heartedly. If you say you're this, people are going to jump to the assumption that, oh my God, like, you vibe with this book, like, that's fucking frightening to me. People get scared, people want guns. So 18,000 deadly terror attacks committed explicitly in the name of Islam in just the last 10 years. Number two, Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, had people killed for insulting him or for criticizing his religion. This included women. Yeah, Muslims are told to emulate the example of Muhammad. Yeah, because he's like perfect to them. Muhammad said in many places that he has been ordered by Allah to fight men until they testify that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Okay, so that's like pretty intense, If you're not Muslim, they're going to fight you until you are. Like, if they're told to emulate the example of Muhammad, that's like, and obviously people don't do that and they'll still say they're Muslim, but it's like, man, this is in the book. So number 4 is just about the split, the two factions of Muslims involving his family splitting. Number 5, Muhammad directed Muslims to wage war on other religions and bring them into submission to Islam. I heard Islam translates into submission. I'm not sure if that's true. Within the first few decades following his death, his Arabian companions invaded and conquered Christian, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, and Zoroastrian lands. A mere 25 years after Muhammad's death, Muslim armies had captured land and people within the modern borders of over 28 countries outside of Saudi Arabia. Okay. Yeah, that's intense. Muslim religions continued their jihad against other religions for 1,400 years, checked only by the ability of non-Muslims to defend themselves. To this day, not a week goes by that Islamic fundamentalists do not attempt to kill Christians, Jews, Hindus, and Buddhists explicitly in the name of Allah. Yeah, so pretty much, as long as they're like pushed back, they won't, like the fundamentalists, they're going to take what they can, but they're also going to be real about it. And, I think that if they know that they're outnumbered, they know that they're not going to be able to. But anyways, Islam is the only religion that has to retain its membership by formally threatening to kill anyone who leaves. Islam teaches that non-Muslims are less than fully human. Oh my God. Muhammad said that Muslims can be put to death for murder, but that a Muslim could never be put to death for killing a non-Muslim. Okay, so they think of non-Muslims as subhuman. Cool. The Quran never once speaks of Allah's love for non-Muslims, but there are hundreds of verses that speak of Allah's cruelty toward and hatred of non-Muslims. And number 10, yeah, it's kind of cringe, but Allah Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu. The last words from the cockpit of Flight 93, which is the plane that crashed into the fucking, whatever, Twin Towers or World Trade Center, whatever, it was 9/11, So the video's not about 9/11, but at the same time, that was in the name of Islam, allegedly. Imagine if that was if that was just the end of it. It's just 9/11. It's just terrorists. Like, not an inside job at all. Okay, so we have here this is actual verses from the Quran, Surah At-Tawbah, the Repentance. This is 9:21, I think. So, did I want 21? I don't think I did. Oh, no, it's 29. Fight against those who believe not in Allah, nor in the last day, nor forbid that which has been forbidden by Allah, His Messenger, and those who acknowledge not the religion of truth among the people of the Scripture, until they pay jizya with willing submission and feel themselves subdued. Okay, so that's right out of the Quran. It's a little more esoteric. It reads, you could interpret that, but I think it's pretty obvious that, this religion has a lot of dogma that wants, it states that it wants, or Prophet Muhammad wanted other religions to submit to Islam. And it seems as though it's a much more forward religion than Christianity in that, it wants people to convert, it wants people to submit, and it thinks of itself as the highest religion. It's willing to use violence for its cause, and that's condoned. So you wonder why people are scared. That might be why. And I don't think that people necessarily have to be scared of Islam necessarily, in its current form, because, like I said, most people who practice, quote-unquote, practice religion in the West, or even just, say that they belong to a religion, don't actually practice it very closely at all. Most people are not very spiritual. They don't observe, even just the fundamental tenets of their religion. So I don't think that we have to worry about Islam as a whole, but I think what we do have to worry about is the fact that people claim to be, to belong to different religions, and that, like, it might affect people's perception of a religion. If there are fundamentalists that also belong to that same one, like, how can you not be associated? Just guilt by association, and it's in your own, your own dogma. It just, you should just not be a Christian or not be a Muslim if you don't fully, wholeheartedly agree with it. I think that there are a lot of people that don't agree with it and who are actually afraid. They're stuck in this belief structure where if they leave Islam, they feel like they're going to either be Islam or Christianity or any religion. If they're actually maybe believe in a physical existence of hell, they might believe that they're going to be tortured for all eternity. And they're not going to practice it too closely. They don't take it seriously, but at the same time, they're like, they're kind of stuck. They have an idea of what God is, and they have an idea of what is right, and it's all derived from this dogma. And even if you escape the dogma, I still think that you have an underlying belief structure which is rooted in your religion, and I think that that's what people actually need to escape from. And so I think that a good step is, like, if you don't wholeheartedly believe in your dogma, like, start looking around, start testing it, start critiquing it. I think that's the only way to move forward, to escape from irrational behavior. Like, I don't think that everything that was written in any of the holy books is very relevant in this day and age. We're moving quick. This is the digital age. I think we need a new religion. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. So another reason why people might be kind of afraid is because Brunei, it's a really, really obscure, pretty sure it's a British colony or something like that, other side of the world. In 2019, Brunei confirmed their intention to introduce new laws that included a penalty of death by stoning for gay sex. So this is 2019. If you're gay, you get stoned to death. Like, sweet. How did that fly? And this is it's really important. This is an Islamic monarchy. So, and I'm pretty sure that if you oppose this law, then you could be deemed Islamophobic. And I guess it's part of their religion. Like, they're going to say, no, like, this is how it goes. Everybody believes in this religion. If you don't believe it, you're Islamophobic. And nobody wants to be Islamophobic in fucking 2019. It's not a good thing to be labeled. So what does anybody have to say about this? When one religion gets majority, it seems as though they could have been dormant in their minority, but when one religion all of a sudden grasps majority, like, this is the kind of shit that happens. We have, like, violent, like, just absurd shit, and no one seems to care. No, like, I don't know. I'm sure people care, but, like, what are you honestly going to do about it if you're not willing to even critique Islam? Okay, so I find it kind of strange, that you're not allowed to critique Islam, but you are allowed to critique Christianity specifically. And I was just thinking, especially because I live in Canada, we have a lot of Christians, majority Christian, and it just makes people who come from different backgrounds, they come to Canada, and they're a minority, they're oppressed, so don't pick on them, kind of thing. But if you look at the bigger picture in the world, like, we're not just limited to Canada here. We're looking at most of Europe is kind of experiencing a huge influx of immigration and refugees, and you're not really allowed to critique it there either without being called Islamophobic. So I'm just wondering, with the whole birth rate thing, I'm sure you've heard about that by now. Like, I'm wondering, how long is Islam really going to be a minority in the world if those people are being, they're moving all over the world, and their birth rates are much higher than a declining population of Christians. And what happens? What happens when they become a majority? So let's just check it out here. Islam set to become the world's largest religion by 2075. Okay, cool. So this is from The Guardian. I'm sure there's, you can look this up too, but I don't know. I don't really want to get into the details about this, and I just want to stress that, like, that's kind of That's kind of scary. You know, you keep seeing more and more and more of this new type of person with this new dogma come into your country, and you know, it's I don't understand why people don't see a problem with people who claim religion. It's so terrifying coming in large numbers into their country, so much so to the point where they will eventually become a majority. And then you also look simultaneously at other places in the world where Islam is majority, and they're passing laws to kill fucking gay people. Like, oh man. It's pretty ridiculous, and I don't know what to do about it because we're causing it. Like, we're fucking like the West. I mean, like, we're displacing families with our oil addictions, and I don't really know what the solution is. But I think it's important to critique religion, and my only hope is that, you know, Islam will be dissolved just in the same way that Christianity was dissolved over the last like 50, 60, 70 years. Like, the whole hippie revolution, I don't think anybody really took Christianity too seriously after the 60s and 70s. And now a few generations down the line, you know, my parents say they're Christian, they don't go to church, and I don't even claim it all. So, you know, how long is it going to take? We've got a new psychedelic revolution happening right now. We've got a lot of people from other sides of the world that were from extremely oppressed countries and religions. They're going to be exposed to new drugs, new experiences. They're going to be exposed to the culture machine that we have here with phones and cars and Uber and alcohol and everything, you know. So it's my only hope is that, like, Islam will be just as dissolved as Christianity will be, just in a number of years. You know, you hear about parents protesting outside of schools, Muslim parents protesting the LGBT curriculum. That, you know, they say it's incompatible with their religion. And, you know, I bet you the kids inside are just like, oh, Mom, just fuck off, just go home. I'm going to see if I can find anything. I know that it was happening in Birmingham, in Britain. I see, yeah, there's lots of stuff in Britain. Somebody was telling me it was happening in Toronto, in the GTA. But, I don't know, maybe I'll just check this out. I got the screenshot thing. We'll explore together. This is just a huge fucking... I don't know. Anyways, let's just here say, you know, I heard some Muslim parents in Ontario were protesting the sex ed curriculum because it was incompatible. You know, it was exposing children to different ideas of what their sexuality could be. And yeah, I bet you those kids are just inside like, Mom, Dad, just fuck off, please. Like, you're embarrassing me. And that's how I would feel too if my parents were at school, like, being like, oh, don't teach my kid this. Like, they're not allowed to watch Harry Potter in school. Like, that's what Christian parents did in the 90s, right? You know, they're trying to ban Harry Potter, and now it's like no one really gives a fuck anymore. Seriously, like, maybe they do in small towns, but I haven't honestly met anyone who calls himself a Christian and seriously fucking cares about, like, something as simple as, like, gay people or the LGBT curriculum, or like Harry Potter witchcraft books, like things like that. I think it's kind of passé even to take Christianity that seriously. It's culturally uncool to be that. Nobody really wants to be that, and nobody really believes in the physical existence of hell anymore. I think we are dominated primarily by atheism in the West. So, anyways, back to the original theme here of this video. We were looking at gun control. The Danforth shooting caused a lot of people to get their feathers ruffled, and, you know, they're thinking, oh, let's take away all the guns in Canada. Let's create a utopia, completely non-violent. And, you know, obviously in that utopia, we'd push for more. You know, we'd want free healthcare, free education, like as much as we could possibly get. And I don't know. I want to pull up an example. So I heard that Venezuela was a socialist government that sort of turned into more of a regime. Yeah, so I'm just going to pull this up. You're probably triggered right now because this is Steven Crowder's website. But so the socialist leader of Venezuela announced in a speech to regime loyalists his plan to arm hundreds of thousands of supporters after a years-long campaign to confiscate civilian-owned guns. Okay, so 5 years ago, uh, guns in Venezuela were outlawed. Civilian ownership and the sale of guns, totally outlawed. And in 2016, there were a bunch of buybacks and there were a bunch of confiscations. So a bunch of people had no guns. And, you know, Venezuela was a socialist nation. They had free education. They had free healthcare. It seemed like things were looking up. And then their currency crashed. And then the people were up in arms about their leadership. And I guess Buddy didn't really want to step down. Maduro was the man. So now the citizens don't have guns. They're opposed to their government. They're trying to do something about it. And now Maduro's like, anyone who joins my cause against my own citizens, we'll give you a gun. So we got a tyrannical government that took away the guns, that is now enforcing its position with its own guns. So what are the people supposed to do? You know, I've seen videos of people getting run over by tanks there. They have $3 million and they can't buy a goddamn loaf of bread. And what are they supposed to do? Like they're literally just trapped. They're literally just fucked. And you know, just like 10, 15 years ago, Venezuela probably would have been a pretty cool place to live. Well, with the free education and the free healthcare and the socialist system, it's seeming to do pretty well. Like before it all went to shit. And I can't pretend to understand the intricacies of why it went to shit. I don't know the details. I just know their currency crashed, the people really couldn't do anything about it, and when they tried to stage a coup, Maduro gave anyone who would join the tyrannical government a gun to fend off against the civilians. So, yeah, cooperate or die. That's pretty much what happened there. I don't know. This is a lot to think about, and there are a lot of emotional topics involved. The Danforth shooting was obviously tragic, but does a lone gunman really justify taking away gun rights of over 200 million Canadian citizens? Let me just find that again. I was somewhere on here, I swear. Whatever. Does it really justify that? I don't know. I don't think it does. And you know, I'm fucking terrified of our government. Like, look what's happening. Like, we have fucking TransCanadaCorp, like, just going into disputed First Nations territory, just trying to build a pipeline. And when the elders of the First Nations are like, hey, like, please stop, the RCMP steps in. It's just like, fuck you. They start arresting people. And it's like, okay, like, I thought we had a treaty. I thought we were cool. Canada comes across internationally as sort of the Switzerland of the West. Like, we've got just a complete cuckold as a prime minister. He's a real softy. You look at him, how could you possibly be intimidated? He's just a total tool. A total tool. How could anyone be intimidated by Canada? Why would Canadians need guns? Like, the Canadian government's not ever going to become tyrannical. Look what's happened in the last little while. Just with everything. We're not allowed to say certain words anymore. Like, we have to correct ourselves when we make mistakes speaking. We're not allowed to talk about certain things online because of the international technocracy, which Canada seems totally fine and aligned with. Like, we're not allowed to critique a religion, which is obviously not a religion of peace. And again, I have nothing against the individuals who practice it half-heartedly, but I think that you should admit to yourself that you're not truly Islamic unless, like, well, maybe you are. I can't really say what you are or what you are not, but I really think that you cause a lot of problems when you say that you're a Muslim and you don't wholeheartedly cling to the belief, like to your dogma in the Quran. Same thing with if you're a Christian and you don't wholeheartedly believe in the Bible. I think that there's something fundamentally wrong with you inside. I think that there's a cognitive dissonance that needs to be addressed. And I think that the only way to be able to address that is to critique your religion, to think critically of not only religion, but everything, about immigration, about gun control, about crime rates on the rise, about what happens, like what multiculturalism really is, and what happens when it happens too quickly. I think that there are a lot of questions that need to be addressed. That's about all. Peace.